I've been sitting on this episode for a while, and I've been kind of scared to put it out because I've been doing a lot of coverage on Normani and dopamine. And I know that a lot of people, once this episode will come out, will probably start trying to be like, oh, like you are like a Normani stan, like you or like a Normani fan, and this is not, you're not doing this video in good faith. And I want to preface everything that I'm going to say in this video has nothing to do with Normani, and it has everything to do with Camilla Cabello. Like, my thoughts on her are purely her own. They're purely on her. They are very fair criticisms and critiques. You don't have to agree. Granted, I feel like that's the same thing with all my podcast episodes. I don't come with stand nonsense with any of these. I come with thoughtful, honest critique. Whether you like it or not, that's purely up to you. But I aim to be as respectful and as honest as possible on my thoughts. So today, I want to talk about Camila Cabello, her new album, and why I think that this is not going to work. Hello, you guys. Welcome back to the Cake Radio Show. I'm the CakeDive, and I hope you guys are doing well because today we're talking about Camila Cabello. Camila Cabello, I believe this week is dropping. At the time I'm recording this, it's probably dropping. Like, I think it's dropping tomorrow. Like, the day I'm dropping this, like Thursday. Um, she is dropping her new album, and I believe it's her fourth album, XOXO. This is the newest album that she's dropping. She has been really doing the promo for this album. Yep, it drops June 28th, this Thursday. So, this week it's dropping. The day I'm dropping this, it's coming out. And there's been a lot of conversations about, this album rollout, the similarities to other, artists and other pieces of work, and a lot of the controversies and a lot of people's thoughts about Camila Cabello has certainly risen to the surface with this album rollout. And as someone who has very much had thoughts on Camila Cabello, I really am excited to give my thoughts and opinions on this and on this album rollout, and just my thoughts on that in general. So for those who don't know who Camila Cabello is, which might be crazy because I feel like I feel like those who are listening to this episode of the Cake Radio Show probably know who Camila Cabello is. Like, it's the same thing for my other episodes. Like, you probably only watch because you know about the situation. But Camila Cabello is a artist who started from the Fifth Harmony group. She eventually left the group and started pursuing solo music. And she has been on a very interesting journey with her, attempts at doing solo music. And with that point across, it seems like with her albums, it hasn't really had a very consistent theme or like genre that she's wanted to pursue. She said this is her upcoming album, XOXO, is going to be her fourth. And she's had done stuff from like the very safe Disney Channel-esque pop, like post Disney Channel pop. She's done, Latin, music. She's gone for she's gone for Latin pop. She's gone for the very like romance-filled pop music. And with this new album, XOXO, she's going for a more experimental pop, electronic sound. And with that, because I want to start with the music first before I talk about anything else. With that in mind, it seems as if with this new album, she has a bit of a dilemma because the songs have not really been well received, in my honest opinion. So she's done 3 singles off of the album, and those three are I Love It featuring Playboy Cardi, He Knows, which is featuring Lil Nas X, and Chanel Number 5, which is, you know, a solo track, I believe. And I Love It was the first single. I remember a lot of people, just personally in terms of the music, were not really like some people really liked it. They thought it was really catchy. They thought that it was really interesting, and the others were like, oh, like this is very vapid, very weak, you know, electronic music. Like it doesn't really set her apart. And then there was He Knows with Lil Nas X, and there were a lot of people who, some people liked that track, some people didn't like that track because of the fact that Lil Nas X was on there, and Lil Nas X has had his fair share of like criticism and controversy just because of the fact that like I guess he's on the downturn in terms of how people are like liking him, because he's still up to the same tricks in terms of his trolling. And this was also when like some of the conversations regarding, oh, like is Camilla just purely working with black artists on this album started rolling out, and then Chanel Number 5 came out, and I haven't really heard people talk about that one. That was the most recent track that came out, and that one hasn't made any noise. And the one thing I have seen I have seen Camilla and like Normani's fans go at it for some reason. Well, not for some reason, because I know why, but they've gone at it because for some reason they're both trying to compare each other's numbers, when it's like, ooh, like y'all, nobody's streaming any of these new girls, and Camilla's not really a new girl because she's like 4 albums in compared to Normani. Like people are trying to say that Normani's not a new girl, but like she got this debut album compared to Camilla's 4 albums. Like I don't think that they should be. And I want to say this now before like any Camilla fans or any Normani's fans start trying to go at it in the comments or try to drag me. I'm not comparing either of these two. I'm not really going to be talking about either of these two too much I'm not going to be talking about Normani too much in this episode because I'm purely talking about my thoughts on Camilla. Normani does have some impact to the conversation. I know it impacts some of the fans and some of their critiques, but I will be keeping it at minimum as much as I can, because I think some of y'all be reaching with some of the conversation. I think it's a little bit crazy. And the timing, but I will be talking about the timing and some of the stuff that has happened between Dopamine's release and XOXO's release. That being said, back to the music. I've listened to 2 out of these 3 singles because I did not want to. I personally don't like Camilla as a person, but I knew that I was going to be doing an episode of Cake Radio on her, and I feel like it would be as much as iconic as it probably would be to just be a pure hater and just purely be like, oh, I fucking hate her, like da 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 da. I don't want to be purely disrespectful of anybody's artistry, because I'm not like that. I still wanted to, listen and give my thoughts on the music, because again, she's an artist. This is what she wants to pursue, and give my thoughts on that, and then talk about everything else. Do we think that's fair? I think so too. But let's hop in. I personally listened to I Love It first, obviously, because that was the first single, and I really didn't like that one. I felt like it was like some of the people who've been critiquing it, like it felt very vapid, like it felt very like, it felt like a worse version of like a good electronic pop song. Like I've heard this song before, and I've heard it better elsewhere. The Playboy Cardi feature just also kind of, for me, felt a little bit like random and out of place. Like I feel like that's kind of the weaker, shockingly, that's kind of the weaker points of the song. It's like I feel like I Love It would have been better if it was like a solo track, or it was like another singer on the song to like complement Camilla's kind of rougher voice with some of the twings that she does with her voice. In terms of like ratings, I'll give it a 2 out of 5. And then we have He Knows. He Knows, I think, is the better track that I listened to out of the 2 singles. I have not listened to Chanel Number 5, so I can't give my thoughts on that, but I did hear He Knows, and I do kind of like the track. I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5 because the track is fairly fun. It is. I like the beat. Definitely thought it was fun. I like the beat. So yeah. No, but I like the beat. I thought that it was really nice. I liked Lil Nas X's verse on the track as much as people don't try giving him his credit on that. I think that both of them, you can tell on the track that they both really want to collaborate with each other. And they both had fun making the track. And I think that in terms of like the album, it kind of works. I kind of see where Camilla's vision was with that track the most, but it's still not great. Like, it's not like, okay, like I don't think this is something that I feel like I don't think this is a sound that I feel like she should consistently pursue going forward, because I feel like it doesn't necessarily work for her. But in terms of like, oh, like, is this going to be a cohesive album? Is this going to be cohesive sound? Like, is this what, do I see what she's trying to go for? He Knows is the track where I kind of see that vision the most, for sure. And then Chanel number 5 is not rated because I ain't listened to it. No shade, sorry y'all. But there's that. But I feel like in terms of this album styling and how she's been trying to promote this album, I know she's trying to go for that like Florida aesthetic, that Florida girl, Miami vibe, and she's also bringing together, like, this is a very black collaboration list, She has like, who she got Playboy Cardi, she has Lil Nas X, Pink Panthers is allegedly on it. She has, she has B.O.P. Kosher, I don't know who that is. She has the City Girls on this as well. Like, this is one of the last City Girls collaborations that we are getting. Apparently I don't know how she snagged that, but she got that. And if you want, for one of the few non-black collaborations, we have Drake. So, yeah. She got 2 Drake collabs on here, which is, she got out of the Five Below bin, thankfully. But, whatever it is to boost Drake after that Drake Kendrick stuff is going to be any help to him, I guess. But it's very, for me, like, I've seen commentary on this, but I find it very odd that she has pretty much, with the exception of Drake, very much focused on collaborating purely with black collaborators. And that kind of ties to some of the controversies that a lot of black people have against Camilla. I know I personally have it too. And speaking of, for those who don't know, like, the history of the Cake Radio YouTube channel, before it was focused on the podcast, I used to be an edit creator. I used to do edits. So I recommend anybody listening to this episode to go back to one of those older videos, because I think those older videos still hold up and I think they're funny. But also, specifically go back to the video I did on Camilla Cabello's Cinderella. 1, because that's one of my favorites, but 2, because I really drag into Camilla there. So, like, my hate, this isn't new hate. I'm not trying to hop on a bandwagon. I've been true to this, okay? One of my biggest critiques of Camilla has been the fact that, like, she had a, racist history. She had her old Tumblr exposed, and she had a wide sleuth of, racist, anti-black, even colorist things on this Tumblr page. And she not only she admitted to, this being her page, and that she was the one who, like, posted and reblogged these things. And she tried, she gave a fairly blanket apology. I mean, you kind of have to apologize when you get caught up like this. Like, you can't have a successful career by doubling down on that type of stuff. And she also, like, talked about how she went to, like, racial healing sessions, to try to work on that anti-blackness in her. And I know for me, like, I go hard on making fun of her for that, because I feel like that is absolutely absurd. Like, it shouldn't be that hard to be kind to people of other races, but I do also understand that for Some people, that is the result of their environment. Like maybe they're just around people who are anti-black. Maybe they're raised, like people learn, like racism isn't, ingrained in people, it's taught. So she had to have been around people who also did not like black people and were saying these things and spreading these things. The only other way that it could have been like that was if she was just like online like that, and she just ended up becoming like falling into like the racist like grifter spaces of Tumblr and was just trying to be edgy, because there she came up in during the era in which like a lot of kids where like edgy humor was kicking off, so like a lot of people were trying to like have that sort of weird edge to that, but it was mostly the men that was doing that. You weren't really seeing women do that, but that's something that's to consider as well. But that has most certainly impacted her career. A lot of black people, myself included, don't really want to support her because of that, and because of the fact that she hasn't really it feels as if she hasn't really put in like the for some people it's like, oh, like, do we forgive her, and has she put in the work? For me, I feel like even though she's done the racial healing sessions, which is like absurd to even say out loud, and and has like apologized. She apologized when she was at the moment, said she was doing that stuff when she was like a teenager, right before she like came up to the X Factor and game part of Fifth Harmony and stuff like that. There still is a lot of like for some people it's just like, this is still too much. Like this is just something that like regardless, I just don't feel comfortable supporting and backing you for. And the other thing is like a lot of Camilla's fans had harassed, I'll say allegedly harassed Normani while she was in Fifth Harmony, and said a lot of anti-black, not even allegedly, but this was known. Because I'm not even going to say alleged, because, Normani has said this in interviews. She hasn't pointed out and said Camilla by name, but she has said that she's experienced a lot of anti-black, responses and harassment from fans and from, those who were trying to support, who were quote unquote trying to support Fifth Harmony when she was in the group. And a lot of people felt like Camilla, because a lot of those fans were Camilla Cabello fans, Camilla didn't step in and say, hey guys, like stop, like this is not right, like this is my friend, stuff like that. Like it was, and I've seen a lot of Normani fans, and I've seen a lot of like black people, black people like turn around and be like, well, you could have handled this and you didn't, so like this is your fault. I don't want to support you because you really dropped the ball here and you have not acknowledged this. And that is like a very big conversation that I feel like a lot of people have, and I've seen it like pop up a lot when Camila Cabello is discussed. And for me, in my opinion, I feel like it really does suck. And like you can tell with Normani that like she, like, you can't lie and be like, oh, that you can't lie and say that anti-blackness does not impact black people, because it does. With Normani especially, like we saw in her interviews during her rollout for Dopamine, that she said that like she's not on social media that much because of how those fans were reacting to her during her Fifth Harmony era. Like she has been very honest with that. So, and that's something that you can't really just like be like, okay, well, I guess I'll forgive and forget, and hop back on Instagram and TikTok and do all this stuff. Like that's something that will stick with you even when you get therapy, even when you seek help, even when you get support from your family and love, like by your friends, and you get the apologies. That stuff sticks with you for life. And that's just something that I feel like a lot of the Camila Cabello fans and a lot of people just in general just don't recognize when the conversations of anti-blackness pop up. That, or they just don't care. So there's that. But I feel like Camila, with all the black artists and Drake, all the black artists and Drake that she has on this album, I feel like she's trying her best to really try courting that audience, because this is pretty much, with the exception of Drake, this is purely, this is pretty much an all black lineup. So she's really trying to like go for it, and I feel like it's coming off as disingenuous, and that she hasn't really fully put in the work that needs to be done in terms of like really amending for those past mistakes. And like at some point, there's also just the fact that I feel like there's just going to be a lot of people who like at the end of the day, there's always going to be people who, you know, when you get in controversy, and even if you apologize and put in the work, there's just going to be people who are just not going to support you regardless. Like you will just forever lose a part of the potential fan base that you could have had, or like you will lose part of your fan base. That's just how it goes. And it's hard for me to tell if she like is aware of this and is trying to get them back somehow with this album, or if, you know, her label, whoever told her to try to go for this like electronic feel with this new album, is trying to have her, you know, do this by doing this. But I feel like this is it, it's hard to determine if this is really going to work. And I feel like I've seen this, like obviously social media, people say one thing, do the other. So like maybe this album will be really successful. Who knows? But I've seen a lot of people be like, oh, like you could. I've seen a lot of black people say that, like, oh, like you could have all of the black features that you want on this album. I'm still not gonna stream this, or like you could have all the black features that you want on this album. I still know about your past, and that still doesn't sit right with me. So I just feel like the I see the attempt. I'm not gonna knock the attempt, but I don't think that it's gonna really work in her favor. I just don't think it's gonna work. She has to do. I feel like she has. There's a little bit more work that she needs to do before she can attempt to do that, at least in a public level. Then you get to the copycat allegations, because while this album rollout was coming out, this was also coming out during the rollout of Charlie XCX's critically acclaimed album Brat. And a lot of people, when the rollout was coming out, were saying that like the XOXO era had a lot of comparisons and a lot of similarities to Charlie XCX and the Brat album. There was the, you know, the I Love It song, which had comparisons to one of Charlie XCX's older songs. When she was doing promo for the song, she was like dancing out of a car, and people were like, oh, like there's a video of Charlie literally promoting a song, or like literally dancing out of a car on like a TikTok or whatever. And like Charlie is a troll, so she was like on Twitter, like hopping, like responding and do videos making fun. And for a lot of people, like a lot of people felt icky by that. They're like, oh, like she's not being original, she's trying to copycat, like she's trying to leech off of Charlie. And it further kind of continued throughout the rollout of the album, because there was like leaked vinyl, like not vinyl signs, vinyl covers that seemed to like very explicitly rip off the Brat album cover, except it was like blue. And there were some other like things within the I Love It music video that, and like He Knows, that were very similar to like things that Charlie XCX does. The CXOXO like directly has similarities to like Charlie XCX's call sign and stuff like that. Like there's Twitter threads basically digging into this with a lot more detail than I'm giving you guys, but like there is a lot of very close similarities that suggest that like suggest that like Camilla is ripping off Charlie. And a lot of people are not feeling that, especially because of the fact that Charlie came out with one of the most successful albums of like the year so far. So it is very, not even most successful, because there's been more successful albums, but like one of the most critically acclaimed albums of the year. But like people are like, ooh, like this isn't working. And it also doesn't help the fact that like with the past couple albums that Camilla's dropped, like she's gone with completely different sounds. Like she, as I touched on before, like she's gone from pop to like Latin pop. Like it's been pop consistently, but she's been going with different sounds, whether it's been Latin, you know, whether it's been like a standard like post Disney Channel-esque like some like kind of family friendly pop. Like she's been going through a lot of different angles, and now we're doing like electronic music. Like, it seems very, I've seen some people suggest that, like, oh, like maybe she's trying to like experiment, like maybe she wants to be an experimental artist. I don't feel like it's that, because I feel like I feel like most artists who are saying that they want to be experimental artists, or that they consider themselves an experimental artist, will go out and say that. I feel like Camilla has not said that, and I feel like I feel like part of this is like the label trying to find the sound that can really kind of push her into being like a mainstream successful artist. And it just seems like none of this is really clicking, and I feel like this is gonna be like the album that really might do, like, if this album isn't successful, this might be the album that does her in. And I also feel like she also kind of does not have, because she's a part of the label, like, she does not have that much control over, you know, what she wants to put out. So no shade, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing like an independent Camilla. Low key, well, I want to see like all these artists go independent, because these labels kind of playing in their faces. But like that's gonna be a video that I'm gonna do later. But I feel like I would love to see what Camilla would be able to put out if she was an independent artist and got to pull more on what she legitimately wants to put out, because I feel like this is not the way that the air around this album kind of gives that, like, the label suggested that she goes with this sound, and she's just like, okay, I mean, I'm part of this label, gotta meet this deal. So there's that. I'm not gonna say, you probably could hear that I'm not suggesting this album's gonna be a flop or anything, because, like, yeah, I don't know, and I don't want to dunk on an album's performance before it comes out, you know. So this is definitely something to wait and see, you know. Even though I have my critiques, and even though I personally don't like Camilla as an artist, I still, you know, I'm going to wait and see how people, you know, respond to the album. And I'm looking forward to hearing people's thoughts. So this has been it from me. You know, thank you for listening to the Cake Radio podcast. Well, the Cake Radio show, pardon me. I've been CakeDive. If you like this episode, be sure to support the show by subscribing to the YouTube channel, where you get episodes of this podcast first before anyone else. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to comment what your thoughts on this rollout has been, what your thoughts on the songs have been, you know, what your thoughts on the controversies that Camilla's been in, and the copycat rumors and all that stuff. Do you think this album's going to work, or do you think she's going to have to go back to the drawing board with the 5th album? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, what names you, love you so much. Thank you for supporting. Be sure to follow the podcast, turn on notifications for more episodes, and give the show a rating, because it helps. And that has been it from me. I'm talking a little too fast because I'm ready to go. I got to cut another episode. I got a lot of episodes to cut. But thank you guys so much for supporting, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.